This is a painting of a small snowy tree meant to be a Christmas card for a friend in Texas who doesn't get snow much. I start with a drawing of what I intend, just the clumps of snow, not a dark drawing, just something as a guide. Then I wet my palette, which I always do before painting. Next step is to add some Misket, which I'm not very good at. Anyway, once that dries, I soak the paper. I put it in upside down, right side up, soak it all through, and then take it out and then towel dry it so that the surface is dry and the bottom is still damp and wet. Then I mix, I'm making a dark mixture or a rich mixture of Prussian blue, ultramarine blue, and burnt sienna to tone the blue down a little bit. I'm trying to make a dark sky color. You might have something on your palette that already does this. So once you make the rich mixture, not very much water means a rich mixture. You can apply it. So first, before applying it, what I'll do is I'll wet the paper in the areas where I want the paint to go. So water is like a paintbrush. You use water to make the paint move where you want it to go. Wherever there is water, the paint will end up eventually. So I start with that rich mixture up at the top to create the sky. So the Misket is totally dry before I wet the paper. So what I'm doing is I'm putting that rich mixture at the top, and I'm painting around the clumps of snow because where the paper is still dry, where I didn't re-wet it, the paint will not go there. But the paper is still damp underneath, which is very useful because I'm not creating hard lines that I can't do anything with. The paint will move because the paper is wet inside and underneath. So then what I do is I use a clean, damp brush, not soaking wet, but damp brush to pull the paint down, and I only touch the edges of the paint, and that makes a graded wash, pulling the dark paint down. Water is moving the paint. Then I clean the edges where there's water over onto my surface because I don't want backruns to happen. So that'll happen. If you leave that water there, it will be pulled into the paper and it will create backruns, pushing the paint. Water pushes the paint and pulls the paint, depending on how much water. So if you're putting paint in an area where there is a lot of water, it will spread out. And because it seeks level, right? Water seeks level and the paint is in the water. Whatever you want to do with your paint, you can use your water to do that. You should practice that sometimes. So now what I'm doing is I'm just adding some salt because it's a little bit dry, not totally wet at the top, and the salt is going to give me the effect of snow. Oh, there it is. You see, once it dries a little bit, that's what happens. You will have the effect of snow. And so the salt on the paper attracts the water, and the water has the paint in it. So it will attract a small amount. Each grain will attract a small amount, and that will pull the paint, and then it dries. And then when once it's dry and you rub it off, once it's very dry and you rub it off, you will have that effect of snow. So here what I'm doing is I am, first I added some water in the areas between where the snow is for the branches, and now I'm adding some green, the green that I'm using as I'm mixing it myself, and it's Prussian blue and burnt sienna, so that's a blue and a yellow. Burnt sienna is a yellow, and that makes a green. And if it's too dark and not quite green enough, I added a little bit of sap green, but just a little because I don't want those to have a spring-like look. Then what I do is I spread that around a little bit with water. And I keep making, now what's going to happen, I keep making more green and branches, but the water inside the paper is making that spread out. So it's softening it. So till the end of the painting, I will be continuing to add green there. So I'll let that work for a little bit. The paint and the paper and the water, they continue to work until it's totally dry. Now I'm just using a clean, damp brush to soften the edge again where the snow meets the clump of snow meets the branches. And here I'm just making a little tree trunk, putting a little bit of burnt sienna and ultramarine along the one edge, and then just softening it out a little bit. And here I'm using a clean damp brush to continue to soften the edges, and pick that up with a paper towel a little bit. Some people use Misket for this snow, and I prefer not to, but that would be up to you. If you wanted to do that, you could do that. If you use Misket, it just gives you hard edges everywhere, and then you have to fight to soften them up a little bit. So here I'm just trying to make some texture in the snow, using some of the sky color. And I will soften it up and lift it up with paper towel just to give it so that it's not a hard edge and perfectly even looking. I'm just giving it a little bit of texture. The last step is to continue to use that green mixture. It's quite a bit drier now, so it shouldn't diffuse as much on the paper. So I'm just putting some little branches, some ends of branches in there. And it will soften a little bit more, but not totally now. And so at the end, this is what I've ended up with, which is a Christmas tree. And there we are, all done. For links to more videos, an Amazon book with lessons, and downloadable lessons for printing, go to the website bigbrush.com. Thank you for watching. Bye.